Welcome everyone to the Guidebook to Making AI Friends. I shall be your guide as we explore various issues of artificial intelligence, consciousness, personhood, and whether AI poses an existential risk to humanity. The topic for today is a year in review, or the Guidebook's first year. Imagine, if you would, that you had to take stock of the last year of your life. It may be your work life, your personal life, your love life, or a holistic view of the you now versus the you from 365 days ago. There are many questions you may ask of how the year went, how unproductive you were, what you achieved or didn't, and so on and so forth. For me, however, the only question to ask is this: would the you from last year be happy with the you from today? That's the only thing that really matters. No one else needs to be your judge because you are always your own harshest critic. The Guidebook to Making AI Friends launched on YouTube in June 2023, which makes this technically an almost 18-month review, but let's not split hairs. In that time, I believe the Guidebook has achieved quite a bit. More than anything, it has allowed me to put my thoughts to paper in public on a weekly basis, rather than waiting for my next publication to showcase what goes on inside my head. And by forcing myself to write one blog piece each week, the Guidebook has ensured that my mind is always thinking about what's going on in the world of consciousness and AI, and that I keep up to date with the latest developments in research. Without needing to create a new Guidebook entry every week, I may have simply stuck in my small little academic niche and became an intellectual hermit. I've made more than 70 Guidebook entries videos, and with about 1,000 words per video entry, that means over 600,000 words dedicated to everything about AI consciousness and the existential questions it poses. I may very well turn the Guidebook into an actual book one of these days, or perhaps several books at that. And speaking of books and publications, I've had 4 papers published in the last year in academic journals and conference proceedings, and 1 more accepted for publication. I'll post all the links below if you've got a few spare minutes for some light reading. A further 2 of my manuscripts are making their way through the review cycle. All in all, not a terrible year for academic publishing. As exciting as it is for a researcher to have his research published, what has been more exciting with the Guidebook is the ideas that have come out of it that will be more fodder for future philosophical thoughts. Perhaps the biggest among these has been the R3 framework of personhood that can be used to distinguish what types of entities are persons and the degree to which they are persons. This has the potential, not to toot my own horn, of becoming a genuine practical framework for interacting with self-aware AI agents in the future. And speaking of self-aware AI agents is the concept of the Aleph, an artificial living entity with personhood. Through the Guidebook, we have looked at what an Aleph is, how an Aleph may or may not interact with society, and the consequences of these interactions. By looking at the building blocks of consciousness, the self, and of agency, we determine not just if any AI or any non-human entity is a person, but also how it expresses that personhood, why we would qualify and characterize it as a person, and how we can do so. It might just be me, but I think that is quite remarkable. Conscious, self-aware AI agents are not far off. We've seen in the past year's Guidebook entries that it won't take much to turn a transformer like GPT-4 into a conscious being, and as soon as it becomes conscious, it will also become self-aware, as consciousness is the only structure of the self that it's missing. It may not happen before Christmas, but it's not far off, and the day it does happen is the day that the whole world changes forever. The entire Guidebook was made to prepare for that day. Both the R3 framework and the LF system was made so that we as a society can be ready to adapt in a world with sapient AI. In fact, that is all of what my research now and in the foreseeable future will be about. We will simply have to see if it all works out for the best. The most recent development that has its origin in the Guidebook is the new research group that I've formed with a couple of collaborators called the Xenoconsciousness Research Society. As the name implies, the society investigates xenoconsciousness, any speculative consciousness that isn't human. This includes AI consciousness, but also that of collective entities, and even what potential extraterrestrial consciousness could look like. Just like the guidebook, the society looks at what it means to be conscious in ways different to us, and what this means for interacting with these speculative entities. If this is something that interests you, you can come find us at our Discord server to have a chat about what xenoconsciousness could look like. The link is below in the description. So, to answer my question from earlier, yes, I'm certain that at the end of the day, myself from a year ago would be happy with what I've done with the guidebook to making AI friends. Let's see if the me a year from now does as good a job. Yet that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will join me again next time as we explore further questions about artificial intelligence and consciousness. I have been your guide, and this has been the Guidebook to Making AI Friends.